We are pleased to welcome in our first guest in studio. BYU Baseball's fourth annual First Pitch Fundraising Dinner Auction is coming up on January 27th, featuring a silent auction with Major League Baseball, NBA, NFL memorabilia. Really cool stuff. And the keynote speaker is two-time National League MVP, seven-time Major League Baseball All-Star Dale Murphy. Dale, welcome to Studio B.
Thank you very much. Looking forward to speaking at the banquet. It's going to be a lot of fun. Thank you.
You had to traverse through the rain, through the elements.
It's not baseball weather out there right now.
They would delay it right now, yeah.
That's right.
How did you get in a position where Mike Littlewood, the head coach, approached you and you became part of, inspiring the BYU baseball alumni and players?
Well, I've known Mike for, quite a few years, and we touch base every once in a while. And it was kind of funny. A couple of years ago, I was doing some part-time things for the Atlanta Braves, and I saw his son play, and he had a good game that night. And I think I texted him and said, "Hey, your son looked good tonight." And we just kind of talked a little bit, and then he's invited me a couple times, and so I'm glad my schedule worked out this time. I think he's doing a great job with BYU Baseball, and so a chance to come and support the Cougar baseball team, speak at their fundraising banquet. He's asked me for a few years, so I'm glad it finally worked out.
Remind us, you went to BYU?
Yeah, yes, I did. Yeah. Well, I went to BYU. It's funny, every once in a while, people come up. I remember watching you play at BYU. I go, well, I attended, but I had already started my professional career. Mm-hmm. I'll try to. It's not a long story. I'll try to make it a little bit short. Well, anyway, I talked to Coach Tuckett, Glenn Tuckett, Vern Law, who was the pitching coach here, and friends, and they said you should go to BYU during the off season. So I came here during the off season after my first year with the Braves, and they got me a place to stay, and so I worked out a little bit with the baseball team, and got on the block system, got here halfway through the semester, left early for spring training. So technically I did attend. Yeah. But yeah, Nancy went here. We've had two kids here, Chad and Tyson attended BYU, and so, but I didn't play here. A lot of people, I think they get me mixed up with Wally Joyner, mm-hmm. and the time frame a little bit. Yeah. And I go, no, that wasn't me. That was Wally, or somebody else. But I had a great few months here. Of course, loved the school and met Nancy here. So it was a great time here. Great time.
What was it about BYU and Glenn Tuckett that made you consider the Cougars over all of the other great college baseball programs that I'm sure were hot after you to try and get you to come there and maybe postpone your professional career?
Well, it's interesting. The backstory of that is I grew up in Portland, Oregon, and had a few schools watching me and had some professional scouts watching me, play. And I didn't really know. Glenn Tuckett came out to watch one of my teammates, Ernie Thompson. And he kept asking my coach, he said, what about this big, tall guy catching? I was a catcher at that time. And so he sent me a letter. He was interested in having me attend BYU. But then that was 1974, my last year in high school. In 1975, I joined the church, was baptized in 1975. So I signed a professional contract. I was going to go to Arizona State University to play baseball, and decided to sign professionally. And then a year later, I ended up being baptized and joining the church. And so obviously then my connection to BYU, that's why I came out here during the off season a couple of years later.
When you were baptized, did you have any idea how much people would gravitate towards, hey, there's our Mormon baseball player.
He's awesome. We love him.
Yeah. I had a little sense of it. Back in the 70s, sometimes we the connections in church and everything, we always say it's kind of a small world. Well, back then it was even smaller. And, what can I say? Everywhere I went, I always felt there were some extra special fans there that were out there to see me play. I had some great connections over the years and doing firesides and all that kind of thing. I have great memories. But when things got a little busy and I was signing autographs and I couldn't quite get to someone, every once in a while someone would say, "Hey, Brother Murphy," and that always that always got my attention. Or seeing the missionaries, in the different cities and getting to know people around the country. It was an instant fan base that I've always appreciated.
We're with Brother Dale Murphy
That's right.
in Studio
That's right.
B. I saw a picture of you yesterday on social media, and I'm going to show you on my computer screen.
A Nike poster.
It's a Nike poster.
Yeah.
You in that
Power Alley.
retro Atlanta Braves uniform, holding you had the lightsaber bat. Do you remember shoots like this?
Absolutely. I didn't do a lot of poster shoots. Only did a few, 2 Nike ones. But yeah, that one, the Power Alley one, has just a little backstory. It was in downtown West Palm Beach in an alley. They wet it down. If you look really closely, you can see the cord coming out my back leg. I was actually holding a yellow wiffle ball bat with a fluorescent light bulb in it. So they enhanced it. I don't think Photoshop was invented yet, but they enhanced it a little bit, and that was the look they were looking for, was this lightsaber kind of mystical thing, and it's been a lot of fun over the years. I'm thankful for Nike for inviting me to do a couple. I did another one called Stickball with Doc Gooden in downtown New York, so that was a lot of fun too. Yeah, but that was the day those posters were a big deal, so it was fun to be a part of.
Oh
it.
yeah,
yeah.
absolutely. I just tweeted it out, by the way. The Power Alley
Yeah.
wiffle ball bat lightsaber picture.
I had Ken Griffey Jr. on my wall growing up. Yeah, posters were a big deal. Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Jake, of course, went to Utah and was a really good tight end there, and so you have the Utah and BYU kind of in the family. What's that like in your family with both those sides?
Well, a little more to that. Sean went to Utah State.
Okay, now we're going.
Yeah. My son McKay's playing football at Weber, so we have everybody covered. I think we've hit every school except Snow in the state. Taylor went to UVU, and so did my daughter Maddie, went to UVU. So we're covered everywhere. But yeah, it was. So we're just kind of whoever's playing that day, and Jake had a great friendship with Kalani up at Utah, and he was so excited for Kalani to get the job here. In fact, I think Jake texted him and said, "Hey, you need a graduate assistant. I'm ready."
Oh, nice.
There you go.
Nice.
So you know how it goes. Everybody knows how it goes. There is the great rivalry, but there is a lot of interconnections with coaches and friends and the players. They're all friends, but it is, as we all know, an intense rivalry. So we got all the schools covered here.
Mike Littlewood has, in a way, resurrected this BYU baseball team and has them competing now on an annual basis for a West Coast Conference title. In fact, they won a share of their first WCC title last year. What do you think about the turnaround for the Cougar baseball program in a day and age where it's hard to recruit in Provo and it's hard to get guys to come up here because it's snowing through February and whatnot?
And baseball in general has some challenges in recruiting with the draft process because a lot of the prospects just want to go to a junior college so they can be drafted the next year. So whether it's BYU or anywhere, you have a lot of things to navigate to get players that, when someone says you're going to get drafted, that automatically changes a player's perspective on a major school. You can go to a junior college and then enter the draft again. So that's a challenge. So with those challenges, I think they've done a great job. Baseball will always be about pitching. They got some really good pitching here, and and I hear about the prospects. Like I said, I've done a little part-time thing, part-time coaching with the Braves. I've been in their draft room the last 2 years, and the scouts know about the players out here, and they've done Mike's done a real good job getting those players here.
As a guy who started as a catcher, I believe you went to first base, played in the outfield. How adaptable does a player maybe need to be able to compete at the highest level?
Yeah, I think that's, you do resilience, the ability to adapt. It never really goes the way you planned it. My career is a good example. You're going to have some tough times. That's just part of life. I don't think there's any player that made it to the major leagues that didn't have some times where he was really doubtful if he was going to make it. And I certainly had that time. And you just push through. You need some luck. You need some people in your corner. You need to stay healthy. And, things worked out. But, yeah, you gotta roll with the punches.
Last year's BYU baseball team, this theme developed, like the mustaches, okay?
The mustache
mafia.
Yeah, it was fun. Yeah.
All right, so it became one of those fun superstitions that are so commonly associated with baseball. What superstitions got you when you were playing baseball?
Well, in high school, I got really superstitious, and it drove me crazy. So there was a point, I think it was my senior year in high school, I said, I'm never going to do this again. So I think there's a difference between, personally, I mean, team building, things like that, I think they're great. But I'd call it more routine. I know there's some things I did every day or before every at-bat, but personally, I had to be a little careful, because sometimes that stuff can drive you crazy. I played with some guys that had to do so many things before they could get in the box, that it was maybe that's why they decided to get some rules to speed up the game. So, I tried to just think about routine. I think you got to have a routine to get ready. Like before you shoot a free throw, you got to have something to settle your mind. So I know there's some things I did routinely, but I tried to be very careful about thinking that it was going to totally affect that at bat, as long as I was ready mentally. But it's fun to see, things like that with teams and team building things. It's a lot of fun.
What's the biggest difference in baseball between when you played and the game today?
Well, the salaries are a little different. I'm not I'm not going to complain about the money I made, because for that time it was a lot of money. Just kidding. It's astronomical now, and I'm happy for the players. I think the fields, we had a lot more AstroTurf, and so that dictated that a lot of teams were built on a lot more speed. Not that there's not a lot of speed now in the game, but teams really relied. And most famously, the early 80s St. Louis Cardinals seemed like they had 4 guys that could steal 60, 70 bases.
Wow.
I mean, it seemed like that. They were all running all the time. So that's just one thing. The relief pitching specialization now, back in my era, we had Gossage, Fingers, and Bruce Suter, but they would sometimes come in the 8th and 8th and 9th, sometimes the 7th. Now you have a guy in the 9th, guys for the 7th and 8th, and guys for the 6th inning, and that's tough for hitters. But that specialization at the end of the game is a big change.
Dale, we appreciate the time. I know a lot of people are looking forward to the message you bring on January 27th to the BYU Baseball First Pitch Dinner. And they had the BYU Baseball players in here yesterday doing green screen shoots. They're excited about it.
Oh, looking forward to it. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Thank you for the time.
Thanks for having me.